Deep in hyperspace lies planet Scaro, a dangerously inhospitable world ruled by the Daleks, possibly the nastiest creatures the universe has ever created. But what of Scaro's other creatures and its diverse and generally deadly plant life? I sent a camera crew there. When it failed to return, I sent another. These are the images they recorded. Much of Scaro's vegetation was destroyed in the same nuclear blast that created the Daleks. These petrified trees bear testament to that explosion, as does this beautiful crystallized flower that we found amongst the ashes. But things do still grow in this devastated wilderness. Here, for example, you see the Arkelis, a flower cultivated by the Daleks for the sap, which is used in the creation of the Emperor's golden casing. However, much of Scaro's vegetation has been mutated by radiation into something far, far deadlier, such as this jungle of seemingly living vines. Vager plants too, possibly a result of the radiation, possibly of Dalek genetic engineering, are a deadly menace. The one you see here used to be our principal cameraman. One scratch from a Vager thorn, and the victim quickly becomes psychotic. Our unfortunate cameraman, for example, tried to throttle the sound man with a length of cable. When he failed, thanks to the sound man smacking him repeatedly on the head with the boom mic, he lapsed into a brief coma. At this stage, the Vager infection spreads rapidly, transforming him into another Vager. Very dangerous. And lucky we had a second cameraman. But what of Scaro's animal life? Like the vegetation, much of this perished during the explosion, but some, mutated beyond recognition, did survive, such as this Magnodon, a creature made of pure metal, which lives in Scaro's tropical jungles. The Thals, Scaro's other intelligent life form, sometimes use these creatures to recharge their hand tools, though where they plug them into the Magnodon is anyone's guess. Far out in the Serpent Sea in western Scaro is an area imaginatively known as the Swamplands. It's a swamp. Here dwells a creature of nightmare, and its blood-curdling cry is sure to curdle the blood. This is the Slither, a creature seemingly fashioned from twigs and an old bin liner, but in reality a ferocious and unstoppable killer. Cumbersome, slow, and faintly ridiculous on land, its saving grace is that, in the swamplands, nothing moves faster than he because of the thick brown mud. It is rumoured that the Black Dalek took quite a shine to the Slither when he first saw one, and now keeps one as a pet. I hope he gave it injections for distemper. Also in the Serpent Sea is Serpent Island, an island of serpents. Here, it is rumoured, you cannot take more than 2 strides without stepping on a snake. Hundreds of millions of them live here, and naturally all are highly venomous, and some large enough to crush the life from an elephant. Were an elephant capable of piloting a spaceship, crash landing it on Scaro, and swimming to the Serpent Island. Out in the deserts of northern Taran, far from prying eyes, lives a race of giant sand creatures, known to the Daleks as sand creatures. Whether these enormous beasts are actually composed of living sand or not is difficult to determine. Like most animals on Scaro, these creatures are vicious killers, more than capable of putting up a fight against the Daleks. However, in recent years, the Daleks have hunted them to the brink of extinction. And now only the sand creature's natural ability to resemble a small dune saves it from being completely wiped out. That terrifying cry is the sound of a terracon. These giant, savage, and luridly colored reptiles inhabit the Lake of Mutations and act as a natural defense barrier for the Dalek city. Constantly hungry, attracted by shiny objects, movement, and the prospect of a tasty morsel, it is unclear what the terracons eat when there are no BBC researchers in the vicinity. Possibly they feast on the bizarre three-eyed flatfish that also inhabit the lake. Perhaps they eat each other. Perhaps they feed on the colonies of giant clams that shelter in caves around the lakeside. Or perhaps they devour the young of the giant eels that also swim in these deadly waters. Terracons and giant eels are natural enemies and will attack each other without provocation. These attacks are vicious and sustained and frequently result in mutual destruction. Water and land. But what of the air? On Scaro's dark side lies an area known as the Rocks. It consists of rocks, vast, towering rocks that rear thousands of feet out of the sea. These rocks serve as a nesting ground for gigantic flying creatures that swarm the area. Predictably vicious and hungry, we are unable to draw any closer than this without risking certain death. Of Scaro's other inhabitants, nothing has been seen of the Thals for many years, and we were unable to get any closer than this to the Dalek city. However, we can see the Daleks preparing their machines for battle and conquest, and oh dear. Oh dear. What a shame. Another camera crew bites the dust.